Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
Am I going to look like Winnie Harlow?
What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood. You can't say I'm not going to help and I'm worried about you.
With Margaret Abels and Amy Wilson.
When you wake up burned the next morning, that's when you know you should have stopped.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to. We are in metaphor heaven right here. Hello and welcome to What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood. This is Margaret, and today I have a very special guest for you. It is the author of the new, incredible, funny advice/memoir book, Happy to Help. Friends, it's our own Amy Wilson. Welcome, Amy Wilson.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
And the crowd goes crazy. I think you know Amy Wilson. She is the author of Happy to Help. She is also the author of the memoir, When Did I Get Like This? And she has been the co-host of the Webby-honored podcast, What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood, for these many years. Amy, I think you all know, is also an actor who has appeared on Broadway and as a series regular on several sitcoms. We're not even getting into her many writing credits. She lives with her family in New York City. Welcome again, Amy Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
I just reread this book for probably maybe the third or fourth time prepping to interview Amy. And it's so good. I mean, I would say that even if I wasn't your work wife, but it is interesting because I think it reads the idea. It falls very much into the kind of Amy type that we talk about on the podcast, type A, list maker, organizer. But I took so much from it myself as kind of the, Laverne to your Shirley, or my Shirley to your Laverne.
Yeah, I think I'm Shirley.
This idea of being kind of the default, not just the default parent, the default person, the person who can take something on when needed. What made you want to write this book, Amy?
Well, I started with this idea that I had been given by Zibby Owens, who has the podcast Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And I ran into her at a party. She said, "Oh, I loved your first book. You should pitch me an idea." And I was pitching her ideas. And this one we kind of seized on was this idea of slack, that there are times in your life that you have to pick up the slack, that you have to give other people slack. You have to give yourself some slack. I'm like, okay, I can work with that. So I started whiteboarding that out, the different things. And no matter how hard I tried, and I really tried because I'm a try hard, the column of times I really needed to pick up the slack because I didn't try hard enough, I couldn't think of any stories that would go in that column. And the longer it stayed empty, that's when I realized, like, oh, that's what the book is about. I never don't try my absolute hardest, even when it's not a great idea and I should have stopped sooner. I couldn't see it because I always try my best. That's what the book is about. And that's how, like, that blank space was how it came to be.
You start the book with this image that I love about you're about to get on the crosstown bus in Manhattan with 3 little kids, and people are kind of rolling their eyes like, uh-oh, here we go. We got a live one here, all the kind of tired travelers. And you're like, no, I am the best at riding the bus. I've got a kid in the papoose. I've got a kid on the hip. I've got the other one. I have the one arm flick that I can get the stroller down on. And we've talked about this on the podcast, the idea of, we call this gold star at the dentist for like the best at sitting still. This idea that we are driven to kind of get the gold star.
Right, in the smallest of ways. And on that bus, traveling with the 3 little kids, or flying with the 3 little kids, or just moving through the world, right, with 3 little kids, one by each arm and one in the baby Bjorn, you want to get approval from the people around you, like, wow, how does she do it? How does she do it all? But you're also hoping that maybe somebody would say, here, let me carry that bag for you. You seem like you have your hands full, at least one or the other. And strangely, neither of those things ever happened for me, because I didn't seem like I needed help. And I made it look like it was so easy, because that's part of the assignment too, right? Look like you like doing it all and you're good at doing it all. And it's not hard doing it all. And if you achieve at all those things, why would anybody think you needed help or think what you're doing is special? It just seems like you're just moving through the world.
But you push back rightfully in the book about, and this is something that we've talked about, the idea that, like, just relax. You're so uptight. Like, it's just because you are so obsessed with how you see things and how they have to be, that it is your own perfectionism and need for the gold star that is truly at fault here.
Right, as opposed to having 3 kids under 5 that need to be at school by 10 after 8 in the morning, which is a situation that is stressful and which requires daily preparation and everything you have. But you're not a crazy or bad person for thinking that's hard. It is hard. There's nothing wrong with you for thinking it's hard. It's a season. My every morning isn't that hard anymore, but it was hard back then.
And because it's an Amy book, of course, it has lots of really good research. And you talk about the research around multitasking. And this idea that, like, well, women are just good at multitasking. Men have these small men brains, and how could they possibly multitask? That is the woman's purview. Anything that involves doing too many things at the same time, women are just good at that. What does the research say?
Right. Well, certainly when I started to write this chapter, I knew that I wanted to write about multitasking and this idea that I was just better at certain things. But I really wanted to find out if it was true. And I really thought it was at least settled science that men's and women's brains were different and that we could multitask better, because that's what the headlines in, I don't know, Psychology Today or whatever, that's what they said. But as I have learned over 8 years of doing a podcast with you, it's not that hard to find the study that's hyperlinked in the article and then go read the study. And there's a sociologist named Leah Ruppener. She's Australian. I found her, and she went through studies on multitasking, and then I went down the rabbit hole that she started another rabbit hole. Turns out this isn't what these studies say. It's like the marshmallow study you and I have talked about many times. What it thinks it's proving is not what it's proving, that it's the bias of the researcher. It's the person wanting to write the snappy, clickbaity headline. We are no better at multitasking. Our brains are, in fact, exactly the same. And we are no better at doing more than one thing at a time, but the worlds around us are structured assuming that we are. If we are any better at doing 2 things at once, it's because we have so much darn practice at it, not because we're uniquely able to do so.
But right. So there's nothing fundamental that says, like, oh, no, you should be doing this, because I think that is kind of a revolutionary concept, that I think that people do think, well, women can just handle 10 things at a time and men are very task oriented. And so they need to go to the office and concentrate all day.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, a lot of our listeners did not come up in the 90s and 2000s watching Oprah and reading the books that I was reading back then. But there was a real men are from Mars, women are from Venus time that you and I at least remember very well. And so I'd like to think if you are 20 years younger than me, that you're not really familiar with some of this stuff and you haven't internalized these messages. But judging by our audience, I don't think that's true, that we do have this idea that men don't see mess, right? Or even worse, that you are maternal gatekeeping and they'd like to help, but the problem is you make it too hard. Your standards are too high. That's why nobody else ever loads the dishwasher. And what happens over and over again when you think like, this seems a little unfair. I think I'm doing more than I can handle. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. That when you start to express that, what you usually receive back is this idea that you're needlessly complicating things, or you need to get a sense of humor. And relax.
Yeah, relax. Definitely, right. Definitely you need to relax.
Yeah. And if you relax, things would just get better magically.
This is foundational. I think the book is really a story about identity, about like exploring your own identity through the years and how you functioned in the world. And there is research, and it's really exploring this idea of your identity in relation to other people and that shapeable identity. And you talk about this college relationship, and I thought this was really relatable, and it plays out against this adult relationship. So you're in a college relationship and you're also working as a personal assistant for an actress. And the way those two relationships are playing out, talk about that section of the book and what your identity was going through at that time.
So I was in my early 20s, just out of college, and I had a boyfriend still in college. I was an older woman. And one of my first jobs was a personal assistant to a pretty well-known actress, certainly in the Broadway world. And there are two situations that are sort of unwinding in opposite directions at the same time at this point in my life. This job was taking over more and more and more of my life because I had no boundaries, and this person certainly had no boundaries. And I was going over to this person's house at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning and seeing her in her underwear. And, she couldn't survive without me. She would often say, which she meant as a compliment to me and to anybody who will listen, I couldn't do it without you. And I was like, that's true. I'm really not sure what would happen if I leave. Therefore, I can't leave. Therefore, I have to be there carrying her bags wherever she goes because her career is very important, while ignoring my own. Meanwhile, I had this relationship that was unwinding in slow motion because I think I had a person on the other end of that relationship who did care about me. We just were in separate places and didn't want to break up because that would be mean. So just was sort of like...
death by 1,000 cutting it in the way that you do.
Right. Treating me increasingly badly, right? So I'd break up, but I wasn't going to break up because I don't give up, right? And I can see things through. And every slight was just another chance to prove my ability to see things through and to love and to stick it out. And yeah, my ability to see things through was working very badly in two different areas of my life at the same time.
Yeah, it's both people at the same time who are in some ways quite dependent on you and are kind of hanging on to your light and your energy and all of the things you bring to them, but putting you in smaller and smaller boxes to fit into their lives. And the parallel, one of the funniest lines of the book, and the book has so many laugh out loud lines, is that your boyfriend, at some point you're going to go see him in a play, and he's like, well, don't come because I'm actually in a relationship with someone else in the play, and it's really complicated, and I have these two loves that I'm balancing. And you say that you think, you're almost sure you're one of those two people. So you're going to keep working to try to make it work.
Right. I'm pretty sure I was one of those two people. Yeah.
I'm sure you can look back at both of those relationships and say like, oh my gosh, I was so bendy and so trying to fit myself into these two people's lives. And that this is such an interesting piece of the happy to help thing, is that you are happily helping, and the people who you are helping are kind of constants, and you're constantly trying to find the variables to make their lives work better. But in fact, nothing ever changes about either of the two people. You are busy going insane trying to help.
So that's exactly right. I'm putting up with less and less. I'm accepting to be a smaller and smaller part. I'm showing up as less and less because I think that will eventually be rewarded with being seen for who I am. Right? That no.
I think it captures so well an experience of that very particular age. I think especially as people who were raised, I mean, we were both raised Irish Catholic, and the idea that like good work pays off and good works don't need a lot of praise and don't let the right hand know what the left is doing. And we aim to serve. And then eventually kind of the kingdom of God will be ours, right? Like eventually something will pay off. And I like that the lesson in both of those is no. In fact, the actress at some point, as you've become more successful, calls you over to have coffee and tell us what happens.
Yeah, that I hadn't seen her in a while, and I hadn't seen her in so long. The good things that started happening in my own career. It was enough time had gone by that we could have a nice coffee together. She calls me over to have coffee, and when I get there, within 5 minutes of me being there, I'm looking for her keys that are lost and the couch cushions, and can I help her run her lines? And just immediate, and no coffee was ever served because she was getting ready for an audition, and it clearly had just been, oh, she's coming over so I can get her to assist me for free now. And like, this is just how it's going to be. There will never be a time in which we can see each other as equals. You'll only ever see what I can do for you, which was certainly, I want to underline, at least as much my fault as anybody else's, that I let myself be treated that way. But I was never going to be so good that she would see me. That was never going to happen.
I am talking to Amy Wilson. She is the author of the new book, Happy to Help, Adventures of a People Pleaser, and we'll be right back.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
So a theme of the book is medical issues that come up for you, that come up for your children, and the particular role that you and a lot of people take on when a medical crisis comes. And you talk about it is now your assignment to make someone else medically better, whether or not you have a medical degree, whether or not that person is capable of getting better, and the kind of impossible task of pleasing the kind of nutty actress now becomes a much more serious, impossible task. So talk a little bit about your journey with your kids' health.
The stakes get so much higher when it's your kid's health, and you don't want to be, sometimes you're patronized and they say like, okay, mom, okay, we're going to be doing this, mom. They call you that and it's so annoying. But on the other hand, you are in charge. And I had two different situations with two of my children where they had sort of extended, complicated, confusing, unexplained medical things happening. And I knew they were real, and my kid knew where they were. You know, I wasn't Munchausen by proxy. I certainly knew that. But part of the job is to not seem too crazy, to not seem too overeager, to not seem annoying, right? To be a team player.
Here comes Google Mom. Uh-oh.
Here comes Google Mom, or here comes, right. That you have to seem like a team player. And I think in one of the cases that actually led me astray a little bit. So in one of the cases, things weren't going right for my kid. They needed, medical attention, and it was sort of a mystery. And I'm going to push through. I'm going to try until we figure this out and make things better. And that was definitely the right call to have made. Then there was another situation where my kid had extended, unexplained, weird stuff happening. And I'm not going to just throw up my hands. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get them better. And that time went down a garden path of increasing medical interventions with the best of intentions of everybody involved, me, the doctors, everybody, that probably only served to extend the symptoms, or at least the sort of sick kid messaging that this kid was receiving. That all the work I did to try to make this kid better didn't do much but create a very complicated couple of years that needed to be unwound.
Right. But as you say, this is what is assigned as the job, whether internally or externally. And I think it's really both, that there are so many situations. And we talked about this on the podcast, and it really struck me that we went from the idea of autism diagnosis means like refrigerator mother who didn't love them enough and that was her fault, to mother as superhero, right? Like I'm a special needs warrior and I'm a cancer mom superhero, and that the job never left our shoulders. The weight of it never leaves our shoulders. It just comes in a different form. And I don't almost know which one is worse. I think that the version of you alone can fix it is heavier almost than like, oh, well, you blew it. This was all your fault, but now let the doctors handle it.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking of one time in particular that my kid was in the hospital in as much pain as when we arrived. And the doctors were like, well, we've done everything we can do here. We're sending you home. Anybody who's been in an extended medical thing with a loved one has been in that situation, right? Like, what do you mean? You're sending them home. We're in the same position as we were when we got here. Yes, but there's nothing more we can do. So it's up to you. You're like, me? What do I do? We're going to have to call this doctor and see. And then the appointment's 3 months out. And like, what do I do for the next 3 months? And they're like, that's not their problem. And they check you off and they move on. Is that better than a kid being in the hospital for 3 months? Yes, I suppose it is. But it is a terrible feeling to feel like I have to fix this and I have no idea what I'm doing.
And there's a diagnosis in the book, and it kind of becomes a metaphor that your child has a complex pain syndrome and that there isn't there's no cure for it. Like, here, take this pill, you're going to be better. And that the pain specialists prescribed a gradual forced return to normalcy. That's kind of where you come to in this story. And talk about that, first of all, as an experience, but also it obviously extends out to this metaphor for both yourself and your child.
Right. So complex regional pain syndrome is this poorly understood but real thing. It happens to people who usually suffer a very small injury. In the case of my kid, it was a twisted ankle. That, when you close your finger in a door and it hurts like crazy for like 30 seconds, but it subsides quickly. And it's a biological imperative, as we like to say. So your finger doesn't get gangrenous because you didn't notice you closed it in a door, right? It hurts a lot, so you pay attention, and then it subsides. Well, in the case of my kid's minor twisted ankle, it hurt more and more and more and more. And there were physical symptoms that you can see, that the limb will turn cold, it'll turn purple. But the good news was we caught it pretty quickly, that we didn't put 3 different casts on this child for a year, which often happens. They think there must be some break that they're not seeing. It is, in fact, in the brain that the pain signals are stuck in the on position. The alarm's going off and nobody knows how to shut it off. The only way to fix this is to slowly use the affected limb or area, whatever it is, which is so painful. It's more painful than like unmedicated childbirth and kidney stones and amputation. It's on the very top of the pain chart. And all you can do is start to slowly use it so that the brain realizes, oh, it's not actually injured. It's actually functioning. So you have to put weight on it. So this took my kid like 6 months of intense physical therapy and using walkers and canes and things like that to get back to health. But that was the prescription, that I had to force my kid to be in pain every day to slowly get better. And then, yes, this forced return to normalcy, that was part of it. And they didn't get to not go to school. They had to go to school with a walker, but they had to go to school. And I had that same forced return to normalcy, that this wasn't, it felt like a 5-alarm fire all day, every day. But it was okay to stop thinking about it for 15 minutes, then for 2 hours, then for a whole day. That was the cure, which it felt so opposite of what could possibly be the answer, but it was.
And then you deal with your own health issue in the book. In my favorite, this essay just knocks me out. And I want you to read a little piece of it for us. But you develop vitiligo. Tell everybody what that is and how it manifested.
So vitiligo it's not dangerous, but it is an autoimmune disorder. It's not fatal. It is when your skin suddenly, patches of melanocytes die overnight and your skin just gets bleached out. Michael Jackson had vitiligo, and it started him.
And there's a famous model, Winnie Harlow, who has vitiligo.
Winnie Harlow has vitiligo, right. Like, she looks like super cool. So, I woke up one day with vitiligo crawling up my arm and advancing pretty rapidly. And when I went to the doctor, they were sort of like, were you in a car accident? Like, what did you do to yourself?
I love this. I have to click on this story because the doctor says, have you been under any stress lately? And it's post-pandemic, right?
Right. It's like summer of 2021, I think. Yeah. Have you been in any stress lately?
Right. So it's mid-pandemic, I guess, or mid-late, whatever we would call it. And you have a child dealing with a health crisis that is a slow burn, but very stressful. And the doctor says, have you been under any stress? And you say, yes.
Right.
Pointing to those things, right?
Right. And then he says, no, not that kind of stress. I mean, stress, like you were in a car accident or something. And I was so mad for a moment thinking, well, this guy clearly doesn't get what it was like to be a mother during the pandemic. But then quickly pushed that down and said, oh, okay, well, no, I don't know, silly me. And then I was sort of told, well, anyway, now you have this and try not to worry about it because worrying makes it worse and it might spread or it might be fine or it might be on your face tomorrow. Goodbye. Like, that was my vitiligo experience. I just want to say, in case anybody's listening, you can treat vitiligo. Until very recently, it was like, well, good luck, and we'll see what happens. Now there's actually this FDA treatment that works extremely well. So I still have it, but it's been sort of arrested in its development. And it's so minor. And I was mad at myself for caring about it. I was mad at myself for being vain about having these bleached out spots on my arm. But I saw them every time I did anything because it was on my right hand and arm.
It really is like a metaphorical, like, horror movie in your own body in terms of you're fighting it. And then at some point you go to wash the dishes and there's a new spot. No, it's coming back.
Yep.
And is it going to take over or is it not going to take over? And also there is still an implication that it is somehow your fault, that you're doing this to yourself.
Right. Look how sick you are. Right. Look that you've made your body do this to yourself. And of course, it feels, when you're experiencing it, very much it's like it's something that's out of your control.
Right. And you haven't earned it. You didn't get into a bad car accident. You only survived a pandemic with 3 children,
right,
one of whom has lingering symptoms and a complicated medical issue going on.
Yeah.
So whatever's going on is somehow your fault, and it's literally like creeping up your body
right
every day. I mean, I can't think of a more powerful image for what this book is talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that big a deal, right? And so I was like, well, it's fine. It's this. The only problem with it is that I have a problem with it. And then people would say to me, like, Winnie Harlow is a really famous model. And I'd be like, okay, am I going to look like Winnie Harlow? Like, that is something I'm going to have to really like take into my sense of self. I mean, she gets to be a famous model for it. I'm not so sure it would be something I'd feel so great about on a daily basis. We don't really need more than one famous model with vitiligo. So what am I going to do with it? And then being mad at myself that I dared to care when there are other people who have bigger problems.
There's something about it to me. It's just, it captures that all so well. Then you start treatment and you are able to treat your vitiligo to a certain degree.
Yeah, you can kind of keep it at bay or keep it from getting worse by, I had to go to like a tanning booth at a hospital. Like, yeah, stand up.
There's this amazing image. You have like a pillowcase over your head.
Right. You have to put a pillowcase over your head. And I was wearing a special shirt that was cut out to show only the parts of me that were bleached, because they keep turning up. And I did that for a while. And then I graduated and got an at-home version. It looks like a room heater. I would hold my arm to it, and it was like getting hot. And they told me just keep turning up. And I was holding it like 7 minutes at a time. The machine is hot. Like, this can't be right. And I went to the doctor and said, am I just supposed to keep doing this more and more forever? And they said, no. When you wake up burned the next morning, that's when you know you should have stopped. So that's when you'll stop. After you're burned.
Again, it's like, am I supposed to keep doing this forever? No, you'll wake up burned, and that's when you'll know you did too much. We are in metaphor heaven right here.
Yes, exactly.
I want you to read the last paragraph of that chapter, because it truly gives me goosebumps every time I read it.
Oh, thank you. The part about the dreams?
Yeah, the dreams. When you're like, your vitiligo exists also in your dreams.
Okay, so my vitiligo is with me even in my dreams, although it's different there. In one dream, I step out of the shower and I look into a mirror, only to find another mirror behind me so I can see my naked reflection from all sides. From behind, I am entirely patterned with white. My back, the backs of my legs, all of me lacy and beautiful. The patterns are intricate and detailed, parts of me that I, and only I, haven't known were there. How long have I been fooling myself that I have kept things in check, when all along my beautiful damage has been visible to everyone but me? In my dream, I am not embarrassed that I look this way. I am embarrassed that I had ever thought I could keep these things hidden. I want to see the patterns of my back like my doctor did, up close under his loupe. I yearn to understand how all the dots connect. I want to reveal every part of myself and heal it with bright light.
I am talking to Amy Wilson, and we'll be right back.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Lululemon knows the 2 times you'll love your everyday pants the most are when they're brand new and when they're broken in. Lululemon's new Easy 5 pants are designed to let you enjoy both feelings at the very same time. Because Easy 5 is the brand new pant that delivers a broken-in feel from day one. Engineered with the structure you want and the touch of stretch you need. Easy 5 casually outperforms denim. Shop now, in-store or online. Athletic innovation for everyday life. Lululemon.
So, as we do on our podcast, in part 3, we move towards solutions. And this book is a beautiful exploration of the many ways in which women are asked to take on and to then just continue to take on. And maybe one day they'll wake up burned and be like, I went too far. But
see that? Yep.
That's
right.
Kind of the only answer that is being offered to you from the outside. And as you face other challenges in the book, it keeps coming back to this theme of, but it has to be you. You're the one who can solve this. And what did you learn about solutions as we move towards, is there a solution to it? Is it just an exploration of the problem? What do you take away? And what do you want readers to take away from Happy to Help?
So when we become overwhelmed, when I think women are conditioned to be helpers, I think anybody listening to this podcast is a helper who does a lot for everybody around her. And when you say you need help, what you often get back is advice, right? That it's your people pleasing that's really to blame. You shouldn't have woken up burned. You shouldn't have done that to yourself. You get that back. Or you need to relax. Or
you need to care less, which is,
right.
That's why I love the vitiligo story and metaphor, because it's like, well, you have this bleaching creeping up your literal body, but if you just would care less, it might go away.
Right. Or it might never have happened to you, but now that it's there, just know that there's something wrong with you and you've brought this on yourself. And that's what you hear when you're like, I can't do this anymore. Well, why do you need to make things harder than they need to be? Why do you have this frantic need to be busy, you workaholic? It's like, I just have a job and 2 kids and 1 sick. What do you mean? That I think often our hard seasons, as we talk about all the time, they're just hard. Your heart is hard. And they're not hard because there's something wrong with you. And I feel like that's honestly something you and I have come to on this podcast over many, many years and many, many episodes, that whenever we talk about something, whenever we talk about solutions, we want the solutions to be practical, not maybe you should just care less that nobody's helping except you. Maybe you should just be relaxed or, have a servant's heart while you clean up everybody else's socks they left on the floor.
You talk in the book about Martha and Mary, this story from the New Testament. And this was a shorthand in our family when anyone was working and other people were, Martha and Mary, Martha and Mary. Give us the quick Martha and Mary archetypes.
It's this story that Jesus went to Martha and Mary's house. And he was, telling stories and blowing everybody's mind. And Martha's being super cool. You definitely want to hang out in the living room with him. But it's almost dinner time. So Martha's in the kitchen, whatever the kitchen part of the cave, making dinner.
She's heating up the rocks. Yeah.
Right. She's tending the fire and deciding what's for dinner with all these surprise guests that are in her house. And her sister Mary is hanging out at Jesus's feet, hanging on his every word, not helping at all.
His lessons. Yes.
And Martha comes out and says hello, Mary, can you please help me? She's burdened with much serving is what it says. She's burdened with much serving. She comes in and says, Mary, I need you to help me. And Jesus says no. Mary has the better part and it shall not be taken from her. And it's yeah, she has the better part, but do you want dinner or not? Right? That story, being a Martha type throughout my life, has always really gotten to me. No. Mary's a better person. Okay. So Martha should come hang out too and there is no dinner? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't think that's what you're saying.
Listen, Jesus, I've got follow-up questions.
Right. And whenever it comes around in church, they try to spin it God doesn't want you to work too hard. And I'm sure that's true, but I speak for the Marthas, that...
Yeah. Those disciples wanted some grub.
Everybody wanted dinner, and then they get to be, there you go again. Also, when is dinner ready exactly? And so, and I think that that's what women get. There you go again, complaining, and also please keep doing everything. And I think it's just, you have to just look at it and say, like, that's not it, right? The solution is not my mindset. The solution is some other people doing something around here, and changing that. If you get stuck in the, like, let me just stop people pleasing first and then my calendar will magically rearrange itself, it's never going to happen. Waiting for somebody to notice how hard you work is never going to make them volunteer to pick up some of what you're doing. That's not how it works. But I think a lot of this stuff just sort of keeps us stuck and feeling bad about ourselves.
Yeah. And you tell the story in the book about being offered a position on a board. Tell us that story.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I go out to breakfast. I was already on this board. Go out to breakfast and the CEO says, I almost hate to ask. You already do so much for us. I almost hate to ask. You know what's going to come next, right? Something that you're absolutely supposed to say no to because it's going to be a thankless task. They needed somebody to call and ask people for money, like head up the fundraising. And I hate to ask. You already do so much for us, but really, who else is there? There's no one else I can ask. And I go through and like, yeah, there is no one else I can ask. He has his own law firm. And she, nope, I guess I'm the only one. And so I like, okay, all right, I'll do it. And she says, well, you know what they say. If you want something done, give it to a busy person.
Do they? They should really rethink that sentence.
Right. They should do it, or they should. But, I did participate in that by thinking that the fact that there was nobody else who would say yes meant that I therefore had to. That can be really hard, right? I didn't really care about this fundraising, but say like, I'm not going to direct my kid's school play this year. I just don't have time. And does that mean there won't be a school play? That's a lot to own if you're a happy helper. When you try to hand something over and nobody's interested in taking it over, they don't magically appear, but that still doesn't mean that you should do it if you just can't do it. And that was something I had to learn the hard way. I don't have to wait for the perfect replacement to appear before I hand something off.
Yeah. And there may not be anyone, and it may be the end of the thing happening. And that's something that I think it is frustrating, because I find myself in the magic maker role a lot of times. And the idea of, if I don't, no one else will. I have to be okay with actually that maybe we won't go ice skating at Christmas time. And it's really magical and I like it, but maybe it actually won't happen without me.
Right. Right. And that we don't want that to be the case. We don't want to let down the people that we love. But the whole idea that no is a complete sentence, like it is, but it doesn't magically resolve the problems. Your problems don't go away or become less because you decide you're not going to super solve everything anymore. Like sometimes those problems still stay just as big as they were, or the thing that you've been supporting has to go away because you can't do it. And that can feel like a lot to take on, but it still doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah. And I think I've certainly been in the situation where I am dealing with something extremely overwhelming and kind of drowning about it and asking other people for help. And they're saying no. And then adding the helpful line, take care of yourself. I'm worried about you. It's like, well, you have to choose one of those two options. You can't say I'm not going to help and I'm worried about you. Like, you're not that worried.
Right. I mean, that's my honest feeling, is that these systems that we exist within are working pretty well a lot of times for everybody but us. And so people aren't bad people. It's human nature that you're going to be disincentivized to change how you're doing things just because Martha comes out from the kitchen for 30 seconds and says, I never get any help around here, and then goes back into the kitchen and does everything. Like, that's working pretty well for everybody. So they're not bad people, especially if you immediately take it all back and you like, fine, I knew change wasn't possible. I'll just wrap all these presents myself, right? If you just live in that acceptance that it has to be you, then nothing will ever change. But it isn't because you like to make things hard on purpose. It's because it's a bad habit everybody's gotten into.
And you talk about working on this with your own family and the phenomenon of the extinction burst that you are greeted with in response. Tell us about extinction burst.
Extinction bursts I found out about researching for an episode of this podcast. So the idea is that we condition each other's behavior as humans, that I hand you the salt and pepper and you say thank you, right? I'm giving you a stimulus and you're giving me my respected response. So an extinction burst happens when the stimulus is met with a surprising or unwelcome response that isn't what's supposed to happen. Like, you put money into a vending machine to get candy, and then, once in a while, the candy doesn't fall and you don't get your money back. I think this has happened to almost everybody. And you don't say like, oh, well, I guess I won't have candy today. You pound on the buttons, you shake the machine, you say, what the heck?
Don't tilt it towards you, people.
Don't tilt it towards you. Right. You kind of rage at the machine for a little while, but of course the machine is a machine, so it's not going to react. And so eventually you kind of give up like, oh, well, I just wasted $1. Yeah, with no candy. But when it's people and say like a kid, you're in Target, like, no, we're not buying a toy today. And your kid goes like, and they completely ramp up. If after, 90 seconds of that extinction burst, you're like, okay, fine, here, be quiet, and you give them the toy. All they've learned is all they have to do is scream for 90 seconds and they'll still get what they want. They can do that. So when you ask for something to change, or when you say, you know what, like, I'm not cleaning up after dinner, you guys can clean up. The first thing that's going to happen, because we're human, is they might ignore you. They might respond very negatively. When I tried to change things with my family and say, you have to start doing this, you have to start doing this, they said they couldn't. They did it maybe a little badly on purpose, right? They just didn't. They're going to test you because it's human nature. And it's also human nature for you to take it back too quickly. Be like, I knew this wouldn't work. And that is part of what's keeping us in these situations where we're doing too much for everybody else. But it's not because you secretly desired that. I just think you can really get stuck in this self-help muck instead of, no, this is just a psychological, it's going to happen before the change. There's going to be a burst of resistance and then the change is on the other side. So just stick it out. And from both of you. And knowing that, and that was what made things change. And truthfully, like, the workload in my house has really redistributed since I figured that out.
I said before, I think the book has a lot to do with identity. And in the book, you define yourself at some point as a perfectionist, then as a recovering perfectionist, because, like, wink, wink, I'm actually so relaxed. I would never define myself that way. So as we close, talk about how you see yourself now in this story and what you learned writing the book.
I think that there are times when you have to look at your ability, what is Anne Lamott calls it, the disease of fixing other people's problems. I mean, we all are. Some of us may be better than others. There is something in me that loves fixing other people's problems or thinks that I should. And there is something in me. Then when I was the Brownie Scout, when I was 8 years old and I was taking the Scout pledge, saying, on my honor, I will try to help other people at all times, which is a really strange thing for us to be teaching our kids to swear to do, boys, girls, or whatever gender they are. But there was something in me that was like, oh, yes, that's it.
The siren call. I have heard the call of my people.
Right. For some reason, I was the brownie in that room. And I think it was like situational. I was an oldest child of a big family. And I don't know, I was an achiever. Like I do think it was fertile ground meets something that was in me. So I do think people like me are born and made, but also the world runs on people like us. And so you don't have to additionally take on all these ideas that there's something wrong with you. You just have to get better at stopping sooner when something's unfixable or uncertain, and getting comfortable with that uncertainty is this thing that has changed me the most.
Stopping before you wake up burned, one might say.
Stopping before you wake up burned. Yeah.
Solved it, Amy. Solved it. Tell everyone all about the book. You're going to be out touring around with the book. We've got some dates, so tell everyone where they can see you.
If you go to whatfreshhellpodcast.com, we have a couple of the events where you are going to be interviewing me in Brookline, Massachusetts, and Bedford, New York. But there's a whole slate of events. And if you want to see those, go to amywilson.com. We'll link to that in the show notes, right? And you can find all the places to buy Happy to Help there. It's available on hardcover, paperback, audiobook, which I read, which was so fun, and Kindle too. And if you have a book club and you'd like me to talk to your book club about this, I would love to do that. So go to hello@amywilson.com to send us your information, and we'll send you a book club kit, and we could set up a Zoom or something. I'd love to do that.
I can't wait for you all to read this fantastic book and start hearing all the great feedback that I know you're going to have. Happy to Help is out now. I'm sure you already pre-ordered your copy and it has arrived for you. But if you did not, go out and get a copy today on Kindle, regular book, audiobook. It's in all the forms. And Amy, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for everything you've done to support this book.
I love it. And with that, friends, we'll talk to you next week.
So long.